Hello and welcome to a new episode of Everstage's Go-To Masters Show, Season 3. We converse with GTM and RevOps leaders from some of the most successful companies today and learn from their unique stories. Joining us today is Yassine Almiaadi, Head of RevOps and GTM Strategy at AirTies. Yassine, to start off, could you give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation and for this opportunity to talk about RevOps. My name is Yassine Almiaadi. I am the head of revenue operations at AirTies. So we are a company specialized in the telco business. So we are doing smart Wi-Fi for the ISVs, and it's been an incredible journey since joined this company to see the transition from the purely hardware company to a purely software company is quite exciting. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So it's always very exciting for me as a host when I find people from other industries other than software because I get to learn a lot more. So diving right in, could you talk to me about how it is very different from the typical B2B SaaS company in terms of operations or even RevOps? I think that's a very good place to start off.
Yeah, there are a couple of traps that you can encounter when you are moving from a hardware to a software company. Revenue itself, even the definition of revenue is a little bit different, from one word to another. So there's what we call like a revenue trap. I mean, in hardware, your professional services like installation and customization are often treated as a high value revenue, where actually in SaaS that can inflate the deals so high, but it's not recurring services revenue. So this will destroy like the integrity of your ARR metric. There's also like the recognition timing trap. I mean, for hardware, revenue is recognized when upon the shipment or the acceptance, where in the SaaS revenue, the recognition is over the contract life. So failing to align, for example, something like sales compensation with the new recognition rules, that can cause a lot of chaos. For example, in AirTies, one of the first things that I did is that I partnered with the product team very early to redefine and define the features where truly recurring and non-recurring. So which features and products can be like a one-time fee, and which other can be like recognized as recurring, so that we can put the emphasis on those ones, because ARR is our north star, together with EBITDA, of course. But yeah, it's quite important to have those metrics well defined, to have your products well defined, your revenue recognition well defined.
Yeah, yeah. Through your career, you have gone from like a really big company like Nokia to a very nimble company like AirTies. So, how has the transition been for you, and what habits you follow from one company to the other that are transferable and what are not transferable?
Well, I think like you go from a big behemoth like Nokia, it's always quite exciting to see like a different kind of execution. But all in all, I think in the SaaS companies, when you are a RevOps, I mean, you need to have like a kind of mindsets and behaviors to well execute the strategy. So in my company, they call me the bridge, and that means like you are first of all the single source of truth for everything. My
Yeah,
primary goal was to ensure that every functional leader, sales, product, finance, they are viewing the business through the same and exact data lens. So forcing also like to have like a shared reality between the different departments. And also, you need to be like the translator. Sometimes you need to stop talking like the RevOps language and start talking something else. So you need to talk in their language. So if I'm talking to sales, you need to talk in terms of forecast accuracy, pipeline velocity. If you are talking to products, you need to talk in terms of feature adoption, customer lifetime value. And of course, if you're talking to finance, you need to talk about revenue recognition and efficient cash flow. So, you need to understand their pain points, and you need to talk their language to do that. And of course, also when you propose something from your side, you need to do that in their language. So Yeah, it's quite an exciting journey, I would say. And then one thing also is that you need to have like a kind of process first and then technology second. When you are in the SaaS transition, you need to adopt you need to try to simplify the processes on paper first. I mean, if a manual process is not working, it's broken, automating that process, it just will make it broken faster. So you need to make sure that you are like internal champion for clean and standardized workflows.
Correct, correct. I couldn't, put it better myself. Process is obviously the core building block of RevOps, right? And I think that's awesome. So, in terms of even the skill sets that get transferred, you are thinking process first, whether it's a bigger company or a smaller company. So that thread of knowledge transfers very easily. So you talk about process, you talk about data, you talk about how to talk to others in their language. So how do you structure inputs? How do you win executive adoption? You spoke about it a little in the last answer about
Yeah,
talking to them in their language. But would you care to elaborate more on like how do you create feedback loops? How do you keep pipeline forecast data and all those things clean and
yeah.
right?
I mean, again, it comes to the fact that different departments will have different views. This can be a challenge, but it could be also an opportunity. So one of the things that I started adopting this year is that talking more and more to the product team also. So to have their view, and then after that, you have like a performance matrix that you can build upon that. So I was given a book by my CEO, and it's called Zone to Win. And they so there's a very interesting point here, and where I get this idea also of making like this cross-functional um, um, check between what our sales people are saying and what our products are also seeing in the field. And by doing so, you're like stress testing your data. You're making sure that what is coming from your forecast, from directly from the sales, is in line on with what the products are seeing. And of course, making sure that this whole data is accurate is your key. I mean, how I sold it to our management is that they need to see the data as like a forecasting power. So if the data is correct, then all the decision that would be made on that data will be accurate. So they need to see the importance of that. And then, of course, one of the things that I did is I made like one single dashboard where you have all the things you need to know. So that make it also easier for them to just catch the important information very quickly, and they can rely on it. And basically by doing so, you don't really need and go and push your sales to make it very accurate, because they know that their data in the CRM is used by the executives. So when something is moving there, then also in the dashboard that will be moving. So if there's anything that like a not normal behavior in the forecast, that the execs will see that very quickly, and then they will start asking questions. So you have like an automated corrected system just by knowing the fact that this data is used, and there is a reason and behind it. So they people will adapt it much faster in this case.
Awesome. Moving back to one of the first points that you mentioned about transitioning from services or a transactional business to a recurring revenue model. Uh, you did a transition, but having learned a bunch of things over the past, few weeks, months, years, would you do something very different if you had to do it all over again?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, as I said, is talking to the products very early. I think this is like the foundation of SaaS. I mean, you really need to make sure that what you define as recurring product and recurring like software and services is really done in a proper way. So I think this is like one of the things that I would have done like differently. Just start that conversation very early. I think it's really very beneficial. Yeah.
Awesome. And so, how do you own the forecast? You say you cross check sales signals with product, or you check product first and then marry with sales? Like, how do you figure out your forecast and operating cadence? And how do you reconcile the views? How does the new tech stack help you? I see that you're doing a bunch of CRM transitioning and you're
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
a
the
CPQ
CRM
transition now.
transition with it is, yeah, I'm moving from Salesforce to HubSpot.
Yeah,
And I mean, this was like, in our case, it was more like a strategic move to align the go-to-market strategy. I mean, moving to HubSpot was, I mean, as a SaaS company, was, to create like a unified platform where like marketing automation, sales pipeline, and product telemetry could be could live closer together. So to go back to the cadence of, of making like the forecast calls, I would do like a weekly forecast review with our sales guys. I mean, looking at the numbers and, asking the right question, like try um, to check like the high risk deals and making like red flags to the management if something is going, offside. And of course you have the other part, which is like cross-checking that data with the product team, customer success team, with the product team, trying to make that like a bi-weekly thing. I mean, I saw the benefit of it, and in the future, I'll try to make it even more recurring, because it's quite interesting, to see the view from the other side, and you can find good things. I mean, how salespeople are. Sometimes some salespeople would give like a very conservative view, and other
correct.
people would take it like very optimistic.
Yeah.
And the reality is between the two sometimes. So having that cross functional cross check is very important.
Awesome. And in the world of finance, I think you're also dabbling into it as we move from one model to the other. You cannot avoid it. So, as a RevOps professional, where do you think certain RevOps processes, or in my mind, RevOps processes should sit, or should it be within the finance or the RevOps? Or like I'm talking about code to cash, billing, revenue rec, cash collection, all of those. Like, what is in your mind like a RevOps thing versus like a finance thing?
Yeah, I mean, in our company, the order to cash process is under RevOps, so it's under in my team. And the reason for that is that, the RevOps should be like the only source of truth, for finance to generate all the booking, billing schedules. So what I did is that we have like a weekly booking review where we are going through the deals, making sure that everything reconcile with what we have in contracts and stuff. And by doing so, actually, I mean, you ended up with finding sometimes mistakes and errors. So you avoid that kind of things before you make like the invoice and send it to the customer, and then after that you have to, push having pushbacks from the customers and payments due and stuff like this. So also from like DSO point of view, you have like you improve that part also. And this is why I think like order to cash should be close to the RevOps team, because they have like this holistic view on the business, starting from like early stage deals until the contract signature, and then, starting the billing. That overall picture is very, very beneficial. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we actually have the deals desk within RevOps here as well, which is basically the key part of order to cash. We do till the invoicing, and then invoicing obviously finance takes up. I have a dotted line here, between CEOs and CFO here. But yeah, interesting perspective. Uh, so what are your priorities for the next 12 months, Yassine?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I would like to establish in our processes is what I call pipeline anomaly flags. Um, uh, I think this could be like a very interesting data points where, we define um, like a kind of red flags in your pipeline when things are not moving that fast, or if a deal is still stuck in one stage and not moving to another one. You need to have like kind of flags where you can easily spot that on and work on the sales to make things happen. Also, I'm establishing now what I call the new billing machine. So it's machine learning based on, done in Databricks, and then I have like the output from that in Power BI. And the idea is just to, based on the historical data, make like a kind of prediction model to see where we will end it up. So I call it like a landing point estimate. This is, I think, it would be a very interesting feature that we can really benefit of, and taking that kind of data and try to stress test again and cross check with what we have in our pipeline, but also to have a kind of for our deals, to have a kind of anomaly check and or predictive models, not to just say like this deal is at risk, but to suggest like what kind of things we need to do. I mean, do we need to change the dates, or do we need to arrange like the monthly forecast and things like that. So a little bit more automation in the machine.
We're planning to find some anomalies on the pipeline itself, and the insights I hear from you is basically you want to understand what's wrong rather than solving and pointing out an error. You just want to see, hey, what's going on, rather than actually solving an error. Am I hearing it right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's more like a discussion with the
yeah,
person. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you start that discussion, and so say, okay, this is what looks like wrong in the pipeline. Then start your discussion directly from there with the sales team.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Before we close out, we do what we call as the career counseling kind of a section. Are there any two or three key pieces of information or advice that you learned over time that you would like to, share with your RevOps folks who are listening on the call?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, there are two things that I can mention. I mean, first thing is to become like fluent in the P&L, not only in your CRM. I mean, you need to understand um, how your work impacts the company valuation, and you need to move like from being like only an administrator to a strategic partner. So I think this is where RevOps need to be. Of course, you need to embrace the fact that you are in the middle of sometimes friction. Sometimes sales wants speed, finance wants control, and I mean your job is to find like the balance between the two, and you are constantly doing like a kind of negotiation, friction negotiations. Yeah. And like the last thing, it would be like you should not just report the data, but like tell the story. I mean, in a table of numbers is fine, but you need to have like the narrative that explains why those numbers are there, and to have also a strategy to make it to make the change. So I think these three things that are more like the real important stuff for a rev.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean this the last point that you talk about, right? There have been data wizards on the show, and all of them stress that hey, data is not God. You need to have the story. Why are you doing this, right? So, I mean, it resonates with me completely. Uh, Thank you so much for your time, Yassine. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Well, that brings us to the end of this insightful episode of Go to Masters. Big thanks to Yassine for sharing his experiences and valuable insights. Remember, you can tune in every week to learn more from game changers driving hypergrowth companies across the globe. Go to Masters is brought to you by Everstage, your trusted partner for transforming the way businesses handle sales compensation. I'm your host, Venkat, signing off.